never thought it would begin with a Target receipt. Not a lipstick stain, not perfume lingering on his collar, not a mysterious hotel charge. No. It was a digital receipt from Target that pinged his phone on a random Tuesday night while we were watching Netflix. The kind of night you forget even happened until everything changes. It said, "Thanks for your pickup order, Sophie." Sophie. Not me, not Harper, not the woman sitting 2 feet from him on our velvet couch, half buried in a throw blanket he got me for Christmas. Sophie. A name I'd heard maybe once before. Some coworker in the creative department at his firm. 29, nose ring, allegedly quirky in a Zooey Deschanel kind of way, which already made my teeth itch. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I smiled, reached over to grab the remote, and finished our show. Then I excused myself to take a shower, because that's where I do my best thinking. Under the hot water, with steam fogging up the mirror and the world going quiet, I stared at the tile and made my first decision. I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to confirm it first. See, confrontation is what they expect. Anger is what they know how to counter. But silence? Calm, calculating silence? That's unsettling. That's dangerous. So I went cold. Not visibly, of course. I still kissed him goodnight, still sent him memes during work hours, still asked about his meetings. But in the background, I turned into a forensic analyst. Every detail mattered. His Slack notifications, his lunch breaks, the uptick in after-hour Zoom calls. I made a spreadsheet. A literal spreadsheet. You think I'm kidding? I color-coded it. Blue for possible work-related, yellow for suspicious, red for confirmed lie. Within 3 weeks, the red column was bleeding off the page. He wasn't just cheating. He was invested. Secret rendezvous in the studio loft under the guise of client feedback reviews. Calendar entries marked sync. What a joke. Sync indeed. I even tracked one hotel booking that matched the dates he told me he'd be visiting his brother in Bend. Classic. But here's the twist. Sophie was also married. Her husband's name was Daniel. I found him through a tagged wedding photo from 3 years ago on her very much not deleted Facebook. He looked clean-cut, tall, the kind of man who definitely called his mom every Sunday. Which meant this wasn't just infidelity. This was a full-on workplace affair between 2 married people who thought they were being subtle. Oh, honey, subtle is a language I speak fluently. The next phase wasn't about catching them. It was about crafting the perfect storm. And trust me, I was already pulling the clouds in. Let's just say I had a little team-building dinner in mind. One that nobody would see coming. Especially not the happy couple. If you noticed I was distant, he didn't say a word. That's the beautiful thing about arrogant men. They assume you're always orbiting them, even while you're building an escape route on the back of their lies. So I smiled. I cooked his favorite pasta. I let him vent about his long day, while knowing he'd spent his lunch break with Sophie at a boutique hotel off the I-5. Thanks, Amex activity. And all the while, I planned. My first call was to human resources. Not to report anything, not yet. Just to innocently inquire about organizing a Q4 morale event for our department. Something fun, inclusive, off-site. You know, to foster connection. Of course, Harper, they said. We love when leadership takes initiative. Check. I booked a private dining room at a sleek Italian place downtown. Glass walls, long mahogany table, real linen napkins. The kind of place you go to be seen. I made name cards. Even included inside jokes from our Slack channels to make it feel personal. And of course, I made sure every invite went through company email, so there was no backing out last minute. Calendar events with RSVP tracking, baby. Sophie and my husband both accepted within minutes, because of course they did. Now, here's where it gets juicy. I didn't just invite our department. I invited cross-functional partners, design, dev, even compliance. And guess who happened to be friends with Sophie's husband, Daniel? One of the UI guys, Scott. A harmless, oversharing dad type who once mentioned in the break room that he and Daniel played in a local trivia league together. I made sure Scott was seated right across from Sophie. Let's just say I had a plan for him, too. The night of the dinner, I wore a green silk wrap dress, the one he once said made me look like trouble. Hair curled, heels just high enough to click on the marble floor. I looked like a woman in control, because I was. Everyone arrived a little buzzed already. Pre-drinks at the bar, laughter echoing down the hallway as they trickled into the room. Sophie came in wearing a blush-toned slip dress that tried way too hard. He followed close behind her, and I swear his pupils dilated when he saw me. Funny how men cheat on you, but still expect to keep admiring you like you're theirs. I smiled, kissed his cheek, and handed him his place card. Dinner flowed, wine poured, people laughed. I led a cute little game called Guess Who, anonymous facts about coworkers, meant to break the ice. Guess who once got locked out of their hotel room in just a towel? Guess who met their spouse on a dating app but told their parents it was through mutual friends? Cute, harmless, until the final card. I stood up, glass in hand. Okay, last one, I said, looking around the room with a grin. Guess who's been printing love notes on the office printer? And guess who accidentally sent one to the entire finance team last week? The room went silent. One guy choked on his wine. Sophie's face drained so fast I thought she might pass out. And then Scott, sweet, oblivious Scott, said, "Wait, wasn't that from Daniel's wife? I remember him showing me the screenshot. Something about missing her creative sync partner." He laughed. "We thought it was a work joke." Sophie made a noise like a dying bird. I locked eyes with my husband, who looked like he'd just seen a ghost. I lifted my glass. "To partnerships," I said, "both professional and otherwise." The silence was deafening, but it wasn't over yet, because the real bomb, that was sitting in my purse, printed, sealed, and addressed to Daniel Donovan, and it was about to be hand-delivered. You know that moment when the game flips? That was this dinner, and they hadn't even tasted the main course yet. They say revenge is best served cold, but I prefer it plated with ambiance, red wine, and a side of public humiliation. After the trivia dinner, the room didn't so much empty as it evaporated. Sophie excused herself so quickly she left her clutch behind. My husband tried to play damage control, his hand grazing the small of my back like we were still on the same team. "We need to talk," he whispered, eyes wide, pleading. "Oh, we will," I said sweetly, slipping Sophie's clutch into my purse without missing a beat. "Just not tonight. I think you've said enough in print." I left before dessert. I had somewhere to be. That somewhere was Daniel Donovan's porch. I had done my homework. I knew where he lived, in one of those tidy modern townhomes that all look like adult Legos. Sophie had posted a picture once with his reflection barely visible in the window. From there, it only took a little Zillow, a little Venmo sleuthing, and voila. Digital stalking is disturbingly easy when your enemy is sloppy on Instagram. I walked up the front steps in my silk-wrapped dress and heels, like I was delivering Girl Scout cookies laced with truth. In my hand was a sealed manila envelope containing printed screenshots of texts, Google Calendar invites, and my personal favorite, a selfie of Sophie in the studio mirror, clearly not alone, judging by the very specific reflection of my husband's wedding ring on the edge of her coffee cup. I didn't ring the bell, just slid the envelope under the door, centered it like it was framed art, and walked away. By the time I got back to my car, my heart was pounding. Not from fear, from clarity. He'd see it tonight. That was enough. I didn't need to witness the explosion. I just wanted to light the fuse. And sure enough, the next morning at 6:48 a.m., my husband's phone lit up while he was still asleep beside me. I was already awake, couldn't sleep. Rage insomnia. I watched the screen buzz once, then again. First from Daniel. "You disgusting bastard, lose my number." Then Sophie. "He knows. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would go this far." I stood in the doorway, coffee in hand, watching my husband wake up like someone being dragged out of a dream and into an earthquake. He rubbed his eyes, blinked at the screen, and went completely still. I didn't say anything, just sipped my coffee. When he finally looked at me, his mouth opened, probably to start lying, explaining, groveling. I cut him off with one sentence. "Don't bother. This is just the prelude." He followed me into the kitchen, sputtering half-sentences about being confused and needing space to talk. "You'll get space," I said, setting down my mug, "as soon as you pack a bag." "You're kicking me out?" he asked, incredulous. "No, I'm giving you the opportunity to leave with a sliver of dignity, because what comes next won't be quiet, and you've lost the right to privacy." He blinked. "Are you threatening me?" I smiled. Not a threat, a spoiler. Because the next part of my plan wasn't just about exposing him. It was about emptying him of comfort, of support, of reputation. And trust me, I wasn't even close to done. Next stop, HR. But not for the reasons he thinks. You know what's more satisfying than catching your husband cheating? Catching him cheating with someone on the company's payroll, while he's technically in a supervisory position over her. That, my friend, is the kind of HR nightmare that gets whispered about in glass offices and buried in internal policy documents. And guess who had receipts? Yep, me. See, I hadn't just been collecting screenshots for drama. I'd been building a file, neatly labeled, tabbed, and backed up to both a cloud drive and a USB I kept in my purse. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to make a formal complaint. HR wasn't ready for me. I showed up at 10 a.m. sharp that Monday. Hair pulled back, minimal makeup, navy blazer, no trace of emotion. I looked like a woman ready to discuss spreadsheets, not deliver a corporate kill shot. "Hi, Jenna," I said to the HR rep as I sat down. "This is going to be a sensitive conversation, so I'd prefer it will be documented in full." She blinked. "Of course, Harper. Is this about your reassignment request last month?" "Oh no," I said, sliding the USB across the table. "This is about a breach of workplace ethics." Her brows furrowed. "What kind of breach?" The kind where a married senior manager uses his influence to carry on a months-long sexual relationship with a subordinate employee, and the subordinate just so happens to be on projects directly supervised by him. The room fell silent. I didn't blink, just folded my hands and waited. Over the next 30 minutes, I laid it all out. Calendar appointments disguised as work sessions, Slack messages, email headers, that creative sync they kept scheduling. I had 3 overlapping examples where Sophie reported directly to him in performance reviews. A big no-no per our internal relationship policy. And then the kicker, the office printer receipts. A copy of a working lunch expense report with a timestamp that directly contradicted Sophie's own PTO request for the same day. Jenna looked ill by the time I finished. "This is extensive," she said quietly. "I came to you before anyone else," I said, "because I'm aware of the implications. But if this isn't addressed internally, I'll have to consult legal counsel. The company can't afford to appear complicit in this." And I meant it, because the moment HR starts to sweat, so does upper management. By the time I got back to my desk, I had an email from Jenna. We've opened an internal investigation. Please do not discuss this matter with other employees. Oh, don't worry, I won't. Because while they were scrambling to contain the damage, I was already moving on to phase 3. I'd made contact with someone from Sophie's past, an ex-roommate, one who had a lot to say. Apparently, Sophie had a pattern. This wasn't her first office affair. It was just the first time she'd aimed so high. And guess who had stories, screenshots, and a scandalous group chat archive? Yep. This wasn't just going to be a termination. It was going to be a purge. You can call it petty. I call it performance art. By Thursday morning, I didn't have to check my email to know the fire was spreading. I could smell the smoke in the break room. You ever walk into a space and feel the static of gossip hanging in the air? Like everyone just paused a conversation mid-sentence because you entered? That was me. Coffee cup in hand, tailored slacks, hair in a slick bun, the walking, talking embodiment of calm before the storm. I didn't say a word, just stirred my coffee like I didn't know I had detonated a corporate bomb 4 days earlier. Meanwhile, Sophie was a ghost, out sick, allegedly. My husband, let's call him what he is now, my soon-to-be ex, was walking around with the nervous energy of a raccoon caught in someone's trash can. He avoided eye contact, probably because the HR meeting he'd been summoned to was set for 11:30 a.m. And Jenna? Oh, Jenna was working overtime. She'd already pulled my calendar for a follow-up. Just to keep you informed, she said. As if I didn't know exactly how the process worked. I'd written the internal training deck on policy violations 3 years ago. The investigation wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about professional misconduct, misuse of power, failure to disclose a relationship. And thanks to my file and Sophie's old roommate, who, bless her bitter little heart, was very happy to overshare, we now had a lovely trail of messages that suggested Sophie had been promised a promotion in exchange for loyalty. Verbatim, her words. And the cherry on top? The roommate sent me a screen-recorded video of Sophie practicing how to cry professionally in front of a mirror. I kid you not. She even had a tissue prop. I didn't need to release it. Just knowing it existed was enough. The real power comes from restraint. That afternoon, Jenna confirmed Sophie had officially resigned. 2 days sick, 1 HR interview, and then poof, gone. No exit email, no goodbye cupcakes, just vanished, like a typo in a quarterly report. As for my husband, he kept his job, for now. But let's just say the promotion track he was banking on, yeah, that fast-tracked highway just became a dirt road in a thunderstorm. Upper management doesn't like mess, especially not when it comes with screenshots and Slack receipts. I came home that night to find him sitting on the couch, looking like someone who had just been told he was voted off the island. I know what you're doing, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Do you? You're destroying me. I laughed, an honest, belly-deep laugh. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure the wreckage is visible. He tried again. You still love me. Oh, sweet summer child. No, I said slowly. I loved the man I thought you were. The one who asked me to be his forever. Not the one who was handing out promises to someone half drunk off company wine and eyeliner validation. He went quiet. I turned to leave, then paused at the stairs. You should probably start looking for a new apartment, I said. The lease is up in 2 months, and spoiler alert, you're not on the renewal form. And with that, I walked upstairs, poured myself a glass of wine, and opened Zillow. I wasn't looking for a new place for me. I was shopping for his replacement. Because while he was busy hiding hotel receipts, I was planning my rebrand. Revenge isn't just about breaking someone down. Sometimes it's about building yourself up so high they need binoculars to see your glow. So while my soon-to-be ex sulked through what he thought was the worst of it, I was busy turning his betrayal into a soft launch renaissance. I booked a photo shoot. Yes, a full-blown, professionally lit boss woman portrait session. Me in a power suit, standing in front of a clean white backdrop with a calm, lethal smile that said, "You lost me, and I upgraded." I captioned it, "Starting new chapters with better pens." The likes came fast. Old friends, colleagues, even his cousin, the one who once told me I seemed too ambitious. Heart emoji, fire emoji. DM, "You look amazing. Proud of you." I changed my LinkedIn banner to Creative Strategist, Rebuilding with Purpose. Because why not? But don't worry, I wasn't going soft. Behind the glow-up, I was still moving pieces. Remember Sophie's old roommate? I sent her a thank you basket. Inside was a bottle of Prosecco, a copy of The Art of War, and a handwritten note. "You lit the match. I brought the gasoline." Meanwhile, Daniel Donovan, Sophie's husband, and I were still quietly in touch. Not romantically, just companions in collateral damage. He'd filed for divorce. He sent me a message one night. "They always think we won't act, that we'll just cry and accept it. But we're not built like that." We're not, and neither of us was done. So when Daniel mentioned Sophie had filed a harassment complaint at her new job about a totally unrelated misogynistic coworker, I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my tea. Oh, sweetheart, when your whole brand is victimhood, eventually you run out of audiences. My ex tried one more time to win me over with an apology letter, written in cursive as if sincerity is font-dependent. I didn't even read it. I just posted a quote to my story that said, "You can't uncheat, but I can unlove." Then I went to dinner with friends and tipped 30% just because I felt like a woman with clarity. Because that's what I'd become. Not his wife, not her rival, just Harper. The woman who refused to let betrayal define her and instead used it to set the whole damn standard. To be continued. Because I'm not finished until he's irrelevant. I didn't cry when I packed his things. Not one tear. Instead, I played Beyoncé. Loud. The kind of loud that makes the windows hum and the walls vibrate with feminine rage and rebirth. I boxed up every t-shirt, every novelty mug, every half-used bottle of cologne, like I was exorcising a demon, one sock at a time. When I got to the drawer where he kept birthday cards and little notes from me, the ones I used to leave on his windshield when he had bad days, I paused. Then I threw them out. Because nostalgia is a liar. I ordered a storage unit online, booked movers for exactly 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, just enough time for him to wake up, realize I meant business, and maybe scramble to call someone for sympathy. Spoiler, no one answered. He stood in the doorway, watching as his life got wheeled away one cardboard box at a time. "You don't have to do this," he said. I didn't respond, just signed the moving slip, tipped the crew generously, and locked the unit behind me. Then I handed him the keys. "You'll need these," I said. "That's your past. Keep it safe. Or don't. I'm done caring." He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. That's because he didn't. Because the version of me who once waited up all night for his texts, who forgave stress and late nights and "it's just work," she was buried the day Sophie printed a love note at work and forgot to check the printer tray. He left that night, took his car, his bags, and a shadow of the man he once pretended to be. The silence that followed? Delicious. The next morning, I brewed coffee for one and stood barefoot in the kitchen, watching the sun stretch across my countertops like it was proud of me. No more hiding. No more pretending. The house was quieter, yes, but for the first time in months, it finally felt like mine. And his absence was the most beautiful decoration I'd ever added. Next, the final act begins. And I promise you, it's not forgiveness. A week after he left, I got a call from his mother. Yes, his mother. "Harper," she said, in that brittle voice women like her reserve for church gossip and veiled accusations. "I just wanted to say, whatever happened, I hope you two can find a way back to each other. You were always the stable one." Ah, the stable one. Translation: the one who should absorb chaos, keep the home polished, and pretend her son didn't turn our marriage into an HR scandal. I paused for just a second before replying. "I am the stable one," I said. "That's why he's gone." Click. I didn't owe anyone grace anymore, especially not the woman who once called my career a hobby. The same woman who coddled him through every failed job, every emotional tantrum, every excuse like he was made of glass. Not my circus, not my man-child. Back at work, the dust hadn't just settled, it had thickened. Sophie's name had become Voldemort-level unspoken. My ex? He looked like a peeled potato in meetings. Pale, exposed, borderline shriveled. I, on the other hand, had been promoted. That's right, promoted. Senior strategist, new office, and a performance bonus that I took and immediately used to book a solo trip to Lisbon. Before I left, I dropped one last gift in the company suggestion box. Anonymously, of course. Add a policy for intimate workplace relationships. You never know when a team sink becomes a mattress sink. Petty? Maybe, but also policy changing. Daniel Donovan and I spoke once more, a brief call. He said, "I saw Sophie last week. She tried to apologize. I told her she was sorry she got caught, not sorry she lied." I told him, "That's the difference between remorse and regret." We didn't plan to meet up again. We didn't need to. We'd already stood in the same battlefield, back to back, watching everything burn down. Closure? That's a myth. But clarity? That's a weapon. And I was armed to the teeth. 2 parts left. And now it's time to rebuild. Not from ashes, but from choice. Lisbon was golden. Golden light, golden wine, golden silence. No one there knew my name. No one cared who I used to be. I was just another woman sipping espresso at a sidewalk cafe, sketching life in a leather-bound journal. Not to vent, not to spiral, just to witness it. My own. I stayed for 10 days, walked everywhere, got lost on purpose. Let my phone die more than once. I didn't miss him. I didn't miss us. The pain had stopped feeling like a knife and started feeling like distance. Like something that used to matter but now lived in the past tense. When I returned, the house was still mine, still clean, still quiet. I changed the locks, sold the couch, the one we picked out together at that overpriced boutique because he thought it made us look grown up. I replaced it with a sleek velvet one in deep emerald. My choice, my money, my style. I threw out the last box of his stuff without ceremony. No bonfire, no dramatic send-off, just a donation pickup and a silent goodbye. Closure, I realized, isn't a door you slam. It's the room you walk out of and never return to. One afternoon, I ran into his friend Mark at the grocery store. The one who used to laugh a little too hard at my jokes, who always texted me when organizing group trips. "Hey, Harper," he said awkwardly. He, told me everything. You doing okay?" I smiled. "Mark, I'm thriving. He looked like he didn't quite know how to respond to that. So I added, "Tell him I said thank you. He gave me the clean break I never knew I needed." Later that night, I opened my laptop and officially changed my name. Not back to my maiden name. Forward to the one I chose for myself. No man's shadow. No inheritance of betrayal. Just me, Harper Blake. Independent, unapologetic, unfuckwithable. And when the final divorce documents arrived in the mail, I didn't cry. I bought myself flowers, poured a glass of champagne, and toasted alone. Because I wasn't celebrating being single. I was celebrating being free. Next, the final part. 1 year later. You won't believe where I end up. Exactly 1 year after I found that receipt on his phone, the one addressed to Sophie, I woke up in a sunlit loft on the coast of Mendocino. The sea air drifted through the windows. There were no voices in the other room, no shoes by the door that weren't mine. Just me. Just peace. I made coffee barefoot, wrapped in a linen robe, and scrolled past the calendar notification. Anniversary. Used to be. I didn't delete it. I just let it exist. A little ghost of a life that no longer belonged to me. I've never felt lighter. These days, I consult part-time for creative agencies. The same ones that once saw me only as someone's wife, someone steady, someone safe. Now they see me as a force. I work on my schedule. I fire clients who condescend. I say no with ease. I say yes with intention. My social media? A highlight reel of quiet wins, solo hiking trips, candlelit dinners for one. A new tattoo, just a small wave on my wrist. A reminder that I endured something powerful and let it shape me, not drown me. I heard through the grapevine he moved out of state, took some lower-tier job. Apparently, Sophie didn't stay with him. Shocking. She resurfaced with a new last name and an MLM hustle. They never apologized again. And that's okay. I didn't need closure from them. I was the closure. Daniel and I exchanged a final message last month. Just a photo. Him holding his daughter, newly born, with the caption, "Still learning, but I'm trying." I hearted it. That was all. Sometimes healing doesn't come with trumpets or applause. Sometimes it's just a calm morning, a fresh breeze, and a steady pulse in your chest that says, "You made it." I took a deep breath, stepped out onto my balcony, and watched the waves. No tears, no rage, no revenge left to serve. Just the truth. He lost me, and I found myself.